Hi, everyone. Um, so I've been really struggling with what to share, and so I'm just going to share from my heart. Um, when I was 18 years old, my first year of college at James Madison University, my mom passed away. And losing your mom at 18 years old in your first semester in college and all what is already a big transition, I just felt empty. This was October of my first year in 1998, and I went back to school after the funeral and everything, and I didn't tell anybody what happened. All my friends were interested in partying and doing all sorts of things, and I just felt so empty inside. I just had this major life event happen, and nobody knew. And I start off with sharing about my mom because her passing, and more importantly, her life, is what really has inspired me as a parent. My mom is an immigrant, I'm an immigrant, and that's a very strong and salient identity to me. I was born in Ghana. I was about 2.5 years old when my family immigrated to the United States, and I hold that identity very dearly because it's what my mom also holds very dearly. She taught me a lot about that identity, and I am inspired by who she was as a parent and then how I parent now for a 9-year-old multiracial kid. So there are three lessons that I learned from my mom. One is she was an avid baker. She loved to cook, and I learned a lot from her. And I'm also an avid baker and cooker. And one of my favorite things to do with my son, with my 9-year-old Sebastian, is to bake. And we're in really unprecedented times right now with COVID, and so I've been able to be at home with him more frequently than I have previously, and we have just really loved baking. It gives us a chance to try new recipes, to talk about how flour mixes with salt, and you start off with just ingredients, and then you mix them together, and you get something tasty and beautiful afterwards. So we use that as a time to explore something that we love doing together, and it helps me also connect myself to my mom through him as well. So lesson number one is baking. Baking is often involves precision, being precise, but you can also be creative, and that's something that Sebastian is. He's very creative, he's artistic, and so I think we share a lot in that. Lesson number two is the importance of identity. My mom as a Ghanaian, I as a Black immigrant, as a Ghanaian, I think a lot about my identity. Those are very, very salient identities to me. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about what it means to be Black in a predominantly white space. And I think a lot about Sebastian, my son, who's a multiracial kid, Black and white. He has this picture that he posted, that he created with the words "Mixed Chicks Matter." I have a poster in my house around Black Lives Matter, and Mixed Chicks is the product, the shampoo that he uses for his hair. And so it's just cute just to, he thinks a lot about his identity as a mixed person, and that's not an identity that I hold, but I do want him to be very proud of who he is and to talk about it and to reflect on it. And so it inspires me when I hear him talk and ask questions about what it means to be both Black and white, what it means to have roots in those identities, and how he makes sense of those identities in this world where often difference is seen as unacceptable or is seen as problematic. And so I learned to believe in myself and to love my Blackness from my mom, and I want Sebastian to also love his multiracialness from me, hopefully, and his mom as well. And then finally, voice matters. Sebastian loves words. I taught a class this semester, and we would do a word of the week each time, and Sebastian contributed to that, to the word of the week. He shared the word sociocentric, which means to think about others instead of being egocentric, which means to think about yourself. He knows what it means to anthropomorphize, which is to assign inanimate objects with actions, and he knows what it means to paraphrase, and that was his last word of the week. And so I share his love of words because he has a really strong voice, and he can communicate his voice through his words. And I want him to use that voice to be bold, to be powerful, to shape society, to leave society for the better, because that's what my mom did. She never shied away from having hard conversations, from speaking her voice and her mind. And so I want Sebastian to do the same. And so even though it was really sad and there was a lot of grief that happened in recent years from my mom's passing, she definitely left a legacy. It makes me sad that Sebastian will never have a chance to meet her, but I've gone through the process of reflecting on my grief to where now I can talk about my mom and reflect on the memories without being so sad about it, and to reflect on the stories that she shared with me, to keep her legacy alive, to share it through Sebastian. And so my mom is who inspires me, and I see her every day in how I show up, how I live in the world, and then also how I try to raise a beautiful, bold, strong, fierce, multiracial kid in a society that is often telling him that he needs to, be somebody else. And I want him to believe who he is, and to just live in that way. So I love you, Mom. Thanks for helping me inspire Sebastian through your life and your legacy.